Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be watching us on Facebook. Good evening to everyone who's here right now. I hope you guys can hear me because there's no microphone. The batteries are dead, so hopefully my voice is reaching everyone. How are you all this evening?
Good.
Sound tired.
Yeah, no, we're good.
You've been sitting through a lot of segments this evening. I hope I won't take too much of your time. But thank you for all being here. This is the official book launch right here at the Glenwood Book Fair of the Multi-Marketing Anthology 2025. This is the 4th annual edition. We've had this every single year since 2022. It is Multi-Marketing's flagship annual publication, and I'm glad you're all here to hear about it. So before I begin, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Noshad Khan. I'm the director, the founder and director of Multi-Marketing. And obviously this is multi-marketing. A lot of people mistake the name. Sometimes they call it multimedia marketing. Sometimes they call it multimedia without the marketing. But it is multi-marketing. And this is our annual publication anthology. What is multi-marketing and what is the anthology? Multi-marketing is a publishing, marketing, and distribution company. And basically the anthology is our annual publication whereby poets, short story writers, and artists get featured in the anthology for a reduced publishing amount, but they get their work featured internationally. So this book is available on mmstore.co.za, physical paperback like this. You can see it's quite a thick book, or an ebook if you prefer. And it's also available on Amazon for international audiences, physical paperback and Kindle as well. Now, why did we start the anthology? Well, we at Multi-Marketing realized there's a lot of poets and short story writers who only have maybe 1 or 2 poems, or 1 or 2 short stories, or artists that only have maybe 1 or 2 drawings. But that's not viable or feasible enough to create a full-length book out of. So why not we put all of these poets, short stories, and artists together in one publication? They can get their work out, featured alongside other authors at a reduced amount, and still get the feel of getting published. Because the Multi-Marketing Anthology, as a backstory, also is a crash course in publishing, because while we do the whole publishing process, the authors get to dip their feet and their toes into the marketing side, the distribution side. It is a crash course in self-publishing. So every year since 2022, we've had this year we've had the most packed amount, the most poets, the most short story writers, the most artists. We even have the youngest entrant in the Multi-Marketing Anthology, who is here with us this evening, and you will hear one of her poems very shortly. We have another scholar who is in here. We have elderly people who are here. We have middle-aged people. Every single person from every walk of life, every background, as long as they are a poet, short story writer, or artist, is featured in this book. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our youngest featured poet, short story writer in this year's Multi-Marketing Anthology. Please welcome, give a big round of applause for Johara Sheikh. Johara, thank you for joining us this evening. Another round of applause for her, please. So she is our youngest featured author, poet, short story writer ever in Multi-Marketing Anthology history. How old are you again? 11 years old. A young girl who has just published her first poems, her first short stories, and she also has artwork that she has drawn. So a trifecta of talent featured right here in the Multi-Marketing Anthology. But let's hear from the poet herself. She's picked out a short story or a poem for us this evening. So Johara, stage is yours.
A typical school day. A typical school day happens when it's time to play. When parents are called to school to deal with a fight, and everyone lies, so no one knows who's right. When teachers are yelling, and kids are hiding toys for silence. But when the principal walks past, there's silence. And when he's gone, silence turns into violence. Dusters and chalk flying, while other kids are crying. Well, now you know how my school day goes, and it's worse than smelling stinking Charles toes.
Round of applause. Thank you so much, Johara, for coming here, sharing your short story with us, and thank you for having the courage to read one of your poems for us tonight. I know you were very nervous, but we thank you for having the courage. One more time for Johara. Now, like I said, this publication has been going on for 4 years. We've had an array of talent, an array of poets. Some came, some went, some stayed with us, some are published for the 4th annual consecutive time right here in this book. But let's look to the future. In the future, there will be more artists, more poets, more short story writers. And this evening, we actually have a future featured artist in the multi-marketing anthology who just happens to be the sister of Johara Sheikh. Please welcome onto stage Hina Sheikh. So Hina, thank you for joining us this evening. Just tell everyone how old you are.
I am 14 years old.
14 years old, and you will be featured in the 2026 edition of the Multi-Marketing Anthology with your artistry. Just display it.
One of my artworks that I've done 2 years ago.
Yeah, you want to give a bit of backstory on that?
Yes, so I was in grade 7 and we had an art competition going, and I did win district's best artist. I won a tablet too with it. So that's the story. Thank you.
Intriguing. One more round of applause for her. Now, like I said, the multi-marketing anthology is about poets, short story writers, and artists. So, like you've heard a short story this evening, you would have also, you've seen Hina Sheikh's artistry. What I'd like to point out right now is the cover of the multi-marketing anthology. This was actually a winning art from Yunila Kumoy. She is an artist from Cape Town. She entered our multi-marketing cover art competition last year. She won the cover art competition, and her prize was being featured on the cover of the multi-marketing anthology for artwork that we feel represents the anthology. It shows the tree and the many roots coming out of the ground, which shows that even youngsters, new poets and short story writers coming up from the ground, rising up to the top and growing and blossoming into branches. Now, like I said, we're looking to the future. We've seen already next year's featured artist, but we also have another featured artist that's going to be featured in next year's anthology. Well, we're hoping. And he's an author that I just met today, right here at the Glenwood Bookfair. Many of you have passed by the multi-marketing table, and if you just passed by us, on your left-hand side, you would have seen this author and his store. I'm talking about Ziad Ali Khan. He is the author of a book where he has designed and animated images and pictures, just like this artist designed this image, this picture to be on the cover of the multi-marketing anthology. And I would like to bring him onto stage now to speak a bit about his artistry, his author journey. And so guys, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Ziad Ali Khan.
Evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Naushad, for giving me the opportunity to speak. Like you said, my name is Ziad Ali Khan, and we've got some artwork here that's showcasing some of the characters from the book. Now, on the concept of artwork, and this is one of the topics that Naushad and I were talking about, and especially comes to light a publication like the anthology that Naushad and the multi-marketing company is bringing to the fore, is someone like myself. I am an author. I've got this book here, Literature of the Glowing Gate. But some of the assets that I needed to use for the marketing of my own book, it was very difficult to find and procure local talent, particularly in South Africa. And that goes above and beyond just typical art and graphics and imagery and illustration like this. Even things like poetry and short stories. A lot of authors who have ideas for good books might not necessarily have the skills to write them themselves, so they need ghostwriters. So they need to leverage skills from a South African space. So having publications like the anthology available to us through multi-marketing, and especially across the years, as we see these artists grow in the various spaces, we can leverage those skills. So a special thanks goes out to Naushad and the company Multi-Marketing for being able to put together publications like this, so that authors like myself or other people who are trying to break into the space are able to leverage those skills and find fellow South Africans they can collaborate with, so we can all grow together in the industry. Now, myself, while I've written a novel, all of the creative aspects Naushad has alluded to in terms of poetry, in terms of short story writing, in terms of art, I've dabbled in. So I'm just going to read you a very short selection of a poem from my book here. So just a little bit of explanation behind the book in and of itself. First, the story is set in a mythological world where the lead character Cassandra, she's a young girl, and it's a little bit of a coming of age story because as young people we're breaking into a space where the older generation understands the lay of the land and young people are trying to find their way through this world. So while they have valuable skills, sometimes those valuable skills aren't always appreciated and recognized by the older generation. But in this journey, as Cassandra grows, she learns more about the world around her and about herself as well. So while the backdrop is mythology and superpowers and intrigue and drama, it's also a story about especially the youth and encouraging them to grow to be their best possible version of themselves. So one of these poems I'm going to read to you here, it's not a terrible spoiler. It's also in the free available promotional artwork that I put out. I've got a PDF of promotional artwork that showcases the characters that you're seeing here in these images, and this poem is there as well. But I just want to read you the expanded version that appears in the book. My sisters, we are 9, but of us 3 did first seek to call the others hither. Be those 3 the cloud, the bramble, and the thunder's cry. 3 more still did hear the summons swift, and then did they seek to treat with those 3 first. Be these 3 the hammer, the bottle, and the piercing spear. And of them more, alas, 3 did hear, yet quiet whispers from the loom of fate. And whence from them did those 3 come? Lo, did they entreat with the prior 3 to meet with those that were first, to be this 3 the horn, the shield, and the heart of flame. My sisters, we are 9, but of us 4 do entreat to wage war, and 4 do plead to stay thine hand. The 9th of ours does not for either. My sisters, we are 9, but our voice is as one. The council is called. From Herodotus' Ivory Taxon, the 4th convention of the council. So I hope I've given you a little bit of a preview of what the book Mitchell of the Glowing Gate is about. And I hope I've sufficiently conveyed across my sincere appreciation for Naushad and the work that he's doing out there and the multi-marketing organization, because anthologies like the one he's doing are incredibly valuable tools for all of us as artists in this space to learn, collaborate, and grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ziad, so much for that eloquent speech. Quite in-depth, giving us an in-depth look into what it takes to produce artwork, that you even had a supplement manual, or what did you say? It was a...
So it's an electronic PDF?
Electronic PDF, yes.
So...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Come through.
So, sorry, I mean, we got through that segment quickly enough, but like I said, some of my challenge was sourcing and preparing this artwork. So like this one character images composition here, it's about 4 or 5 key images. I've got some graphic design skills, so I was able to put it together. But to try to find an artist to produce this for me was the challenge. Mm-hmm. But now through mediums like your Anthology, we can source these people and this talent locally much more easily. So while I'm obviously promoting my book and my artwork, and I could undertake this journey, and this is a lot of work and a lot of effort, and in a space such as South Africa, and particularly in Durban, with our local artists and contributors, we want to encourage being able to pay our local contributors for this sort of artwork. And now, while I've had the time, I was able to do this. But as I progressed into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th book of the 6-book series, hopefully, God willing, to be able to do this and compile this, the amount of time and effort and energy to produce something of this quality, I won't necessarily have the time. So by making connections and by leveraging off our local talent, we can, produce the stuff more easily. We can get the talent out there. We can get these people paid for the passion that they put into their work. Because that's the thing, we've got these artists, we've got skill, like our young lady that came up here. She did a beautiful diagram. It spoke evocatively of oranges and citrus and fruit and lemon and that sort of thing. And there's companies and industries that will happily pay her to produce artwork of that quality. I mean, a lemonade stand, here you go. Someone invents a business tomorrow, they've added a bit of chai spice or chili to it, and they've made a new flavor. Here you go, marketing idea for you, chili lemonade.
Yeah.
You heard it first here in the multi-marketing seminar at the Glenwood Bookfair. So, new product, get a youngster, produce some artwork, and together you grow and establish a business. So like I said, the challenge is putting those people together. And an anthology does exactly that.
So like he said, an anthology does just that. Now, some of you may not know this, but before I close up, I'm also a published author. So before I started multi-marketing, I published a book called Race Champ. And after that, I was featured in a lot of publications, newspapers, and I had authors coming up to me and asking me, help me to get published. So that is what led to the establishment of me establishing multi-marketing. Instead of authors going to different printers, going to another person for marketing, going to another person for distribution, why not do it in one place, a one-stop shop, and that is what multi-marketing is. Now, like I said, I was a published author before this, before I started multi-marketing. So the best way to keep that juices flowing is for me to also feature short stories. So I also, in every single anthology, have featured a short story. This year is no different. I featured a short story in here called Danny and Jordan. What inspired me to write Danny and Jordan was I would say in my early 20s, I was obsessed with a couple of YouTubers who went around exploring haunted and abandoned buildings in urban areas. They call themselves urban explorers. So my fascination with that led me to write the short story Danny and Jordan that is featured in the multi-marketing anthology. Now, there are some of you here who are seeing me for the first time this evening, some of you who have seen me before, and those of you who have seen me online in a lot of my YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok videos may know me for my exuberant and exciting way of introducing. So for those of you who don't see, normally I open up a Facebook Live or a TikTok Live with, "What's up guys, it's Multi-Marketing Live on Facebook." We are live on Facebook right now. A lot of the people know me as that exuberant, exciting person. So I tend to channel a lot of my own characteristics into the characters, and we do that as authors who are sitting here, as authors who have written fiction books. You sometimes channel your own characteristics into the characters or the personas of the characters you're writing for. So Danny and Jordan is no different. I channeled my exuberant personality, as someone eloquently put it, exuberant personality, into Danny and Jordan. I'm going to read a short excerpt of that right now to give you guys a taste and idea of the short story that I have featured in the anthology. We've seen some great artwork tonight. We've heard a short story by Johara Sheikh, and we're going to end it off with an excerpt of the short story Danny and Jordan, featured in the multi-marketing anthology by yours truly. So the scene that I'm about to read is from a dialogue of when Danny and Jordan are setting up their camera to start recording the YouTube video. So, like I said, when I go onto Facebook, TikTok, I have this exuberant personality that just pops out of the camera. So that channel and that characteristic is seen here. Jordan was setting up the camera on a nearby wall so they could record the intro to their video. As soon as the camera turned on, their personalities turned up. "What's up guys, it's Danny and Jordan, and today we are in an abandoned nuke town." Now apparently this place used to be a town that housed soldiers and their families because it was nearby to an army base, but after the army base closed up following World War II, everyone moved out and the town was left abandoned ever since. And today we're going to explore this place and see what we can find. But first, I heard that this place is full of asbestos since it's been abandoned for so long, so to keep safe, we're going to be wearing these masks. After Danny and Jordan put on the masks, they thumbed up to the camera and said, "Let's try to get at least 10,000 likes on this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go explore." As they started walking towards the open town of nothing but houses in neat blocks and rows, Danny finally voiced out his concerns. "Dude, do you think there maybe could be like homeless people out here in some of these houses?" "Could be," replied Jordan. "I mean, it's been abandoned for decades and it's wide open. When we drove out here, there was no barricade or anything preventing us from getting in. So it's quite possible that there could be homeless people just wandering around in here. So I think we should play it smart, explore this whole place, but get out of here before it gets dark. Because I don't think we want to be stumbling into homeless people in the night, especially with this camera," Danny suggested. "Good idea," Jordan responded. "Although I think they might actually be more scared of us. They see two dudes walking around in an abandoned town at night with these creepy masks on. They'd be like, what the heck?" Danny and Jordan giggled at the idea, still proceeding into the abandoned town. So from that excerpt, you can see a lot of the characteristics and ways and mannerisms in which I speak. I've kind of like installed into these characters. So I'd like to thank you all again, once again. Multi-Marketing Anthology 2025 available on MM Store. Paper book, physical like this, or ebook, whichever you prefer. And already we have 2 artists who are featured, that will be featured in 2026 edition. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, enjoyed the look into the future. And just like Danny and Jordan, it's getting dark out now. So I think before it gets too dark, I should wrap this up. So thank you all again. And for myself, for Johara Sheikh, for Hina Sheikh, for Ziad Ali Khan, I'm the founder and director of Multi-Marketing, Noshad Khan, and I will see you all down the road. Peace.